Welcome back, everybody. This is Matt with the owner Josh at SaratogaWine.com, and today we're starting a new series called 4 Great Wines Under $30.
Great wine.
Better prices.
Delivered right to your door.
SaratogaWine.com. So Matt, we've got 4 wines that we picked. You picked 2, I picked 2. Let's start with your first pick there.
So my first pick is a Soave from Pieropan 2021 vintage. I picked a Soave mainly because Soave is one of the more misunderstood whites in the US. Basically back in the 60s and 70s, they made some pretty terrible wines and called them Soave. But this is just an amazing little Italian white. It takes all the things that I really love about Pinot Grigio and gets rid of all the things that I don't love about Pinot Grigio. And in my head, it's always it almost tastes like maybe it's 75% Pinot Grigio and then 25% Riesling. It has that crispness and the minerality of a Riesling, but it has the lemony, bright, floral notes of Pinot Grigio.
And you know, Soave, especially in the US, was associated with like bulk brand, mag brand, and like you said, it really didn't have a good reputation. And then Pinot Grigio came on the market, and basically people forgot all about Soave, and the marketing behind the Pinot Grigio became such a big push. A lot of the Italian whites that we really like got pushed to the side. People don't know about them as much. So this is a good example of that. So let's take a smell and a taste and see what we got here. I love it. This is a great summer wine. It's a great wine for shellfish. It's a great wine for cream dishes. It's got great acidity. What a great nose on that. You've got some stone fruit. You've got a really bright kind of citrus characteristic.
I love it.
Yeah, and you're right. It's interesting. It does kind of have that Riesling kind of, I don't want to say sweetness so much, but it's got that fruit. Like you can smell that fruit on the nose.
Almost like a good German Riesling without the diesel.
Oh, that's got excellent minerality. Again, you get the same kind of things coming through on the palate as you do on those stone fruits. A lot of flavor though, and great acidity. Mouth is watering. Basically any food with fat in it, this is going to pair with. I'm thinking even like Thai food, something with a spicy dish. You could do some amazing stuff. Pad Thai, yeah, Pad Thai would be great. So that's a fantastic wine, and I love it. It's a great, even just a summertime on the deck, on the boat, kind of a wine too. You don't need to have food necessarily with that. It's a great little wine. Okay, what's our second pick?
So should we go with the Pinot Noir or should we go with the Super Tuscan?
So this Non-Confunditur is my pick. It's a Super Tuscan, but it tends to be a little bit on the heavier side. I think the Pinot Noir is probably going to be our best bet to try next.
So this is 4 Graces from Willamette Valley, 2019. The interesting thing about 2019 and 2020, jump on 2019s now, because the glass fire in Sonoma in 2020, all that smoke blew right up over Oregon and Washington, and a lot of these wineries aren't releasing a 2020. Okay. So luckily this is still a 2019, which was actually a really good year.
That's a beautiful wine in the glass. That's got a nice nose.
Mercy.
That is delicious. Of course, with Pinot Noir, you're getting a lot of that cherry.
Cherry and cola.
Yep.
Normally,
really nice.
Oregon Pinot Noirs I find to be a little bit too light. This is big.
Yeah, I haven't tasted it yet. This particular vintage. This will be my first time trying this particular vintage of this, but that nose is fantastic on it. Definitely New World style, Pinot Noir. Pretty, what I would say, kind of typical of Oregon style Pinot, but it does have some nice body to it there that gives it a more medium to full body Pinot Noir style. Still not as heavy as what we're gonna get into here with the IGT, but man, that is a nice Pinot Noir. Good acidity there too.
Oh yeah.
That is a great, typical Northwest salmon, cedar plank salmon. You could see where that would be an ideal pairing with this wine. But that is a really delicious Pinot Noir. And you know what it is? It's not so light or so heavy that somebody who hasn't had a lot of experience with Pinot Noir, that's a good one for an everyday kind of starter.
Right, because some of the Willamette ones can be a little bit too burgundy, a little too light, and then some of the the Santa Barbara and Sonoma ones can be just
juice bombs,
just
fruit bombs. Yeah, this is a really excellent, well-made Pinot Noir. Very good. That was a good choice. So 2 good choices. All right, so my first pick today is this Tuscan Red IGT Non-Confunditur, which is Latin for unmistakable or unique. And what's great about IGT wines are these blends that we get. The rules aren't as strict as some of the other regions and the other releases that come from Italy. So they have a lot more room to play with varietals, percentages. This one is a blend of Cabernet Merlot and Sangiovese. A lot of times you think of these Italian reds that you kind of think lighter bodied. This is not the case with this. It's got a lot going on in the bottle. So let's take a taste of it. Let's see what you think. And I know historically for you and I, this is one of our go-to Italian reds when somebody says, hey, I'm looking for an Italian red for anything. This is absolutely one of our go-to picks.
Or I want an Italian red, but I don't want Chianti and I don't want Barolo.
Yeah.
I want to try something different.
Or I want a red that goes with anything off the grill, anything Italian. This is one of our favorite picks.
Old world though, still.
It does.
A little bit of that funk.
Yeah, but you've got the fruit that comes off on it too. So it's this kind of blend of this earthy characteristic with the fruit that gives it this really great nose, which helps it pair with so many different foods. Because if you didn't have that, if it was all fruit or if it was all old world, it's harder to pair with different things.
I would have had a hard time telling what the grape blend was on this just by the nose.
Oh man, that's great. Good medium to full bodied, well balanced. I love this wine because of the balance. Definitely has acidity. But it is so well balanced, it goes with so much stuff. But interestingly, those tannins, still a little green on the finish, right? So that when you have a heavier food, have something with a little bit of fat, something that's like a real creamy cheese or a cream sauce, that tannin and the acid on the finish is going to come through and you're still going to...
But not to mistake, it's still wicked smooth.
Oh yeah, absolutely on the palate smooth, but I'm saying it finishes with that nice kind of acidity and those tannins that give it that little bit of a bite that make it so that it isn't just flat and plain. Love that wine. Highly recommend that one, and it's an easy go-to Italian red. And the nice thing about all of these too, that of course they're available on our website, but they're also readily available for most people. Should have access to this no matter where you're at in the country to be able to get these wines. We recommend SaratogaWine.com, of course, but part of the reason we pick them is because they are good every year in and out, and they're usually not hard to find. All right, so my next pick here. Chateau Le Villequier 2019. This is my go-to Bordeaux for just about anybody who says, hey, I'd like to try and get into French wines. I want to try a Bordeaux. I want to start. This is a good introduction to what Bordeaux is, what it tastes like, why it's different. And it's also a good all-around wine for just anybody who likes a good red wine to go with food. It's definitely a food wine, though. As you'll notice when you smell it and you taste it, this is definitely designed. You can drink it by itself, but it's definitely designed to go with foods. It has enough body, it has this richness to it.
So this is right bank, correct?
Predominantly Merlot and Cab Franc, yep. So this is where some of the flavor comes from. That Cab Franc in there, you're gonna get that bell pepper. You see that kind of a green characteristic you get with some of that Cab Franc that gives it a nice characteristic for food.
The first thing, without it even hitting my palate, it's just rich.
Yeah, kind of smoky on the nose.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's got a nice earthy characteristic to it. Again, you get the rich red fruits. Not overpowering, so it's interesting to kind of go through this from New World to kind of a mediocre New World, Old World style here with this new kind of style of IGT, and then into Old World. You do get more of the Old World style of the Bordeaux, but it does have some bright fruit to it as well in the nose.
This is definitely young. Not in a bad way.
It's very woody. It's got a nice oaky characteristic to it.
I think this wine is corked.
Now, interestingly, with Bordeaux's, historically, typically, you get more tannin. They're designed to age, whereas the other three wines we just tasted, definitely you could drink them now. So with the Bordeaux, even with something at this price point, decanting it prior to serving it, giving it another year or two, even in your cellar, it's not going to hurt this wine at all. There's plenty of tannin there. There's plenty of acidity in it that's going to age well for a couple of years. But if you decant it, serve it with the right food, this is going to be perfect now too.
Sure.
It's not one I would necessarily recommend for somebody who just wants to say, hey, I just want a red to sit out on the deck and watch the sunset. This is probably not the wine you want. This is going to be something that you'd want to have with food in the right circumstances to really bring out all the characteristics of it. Whereas the other ones all three of those you could easily have either with food or without and just enjoy them. But this one definitely would do better with some nice food.
If you are intimidated by decanting, or if you don't have a decanter, don't shy away from this. There is a technique called double decanting that would work really well, that if you're not familiar, you can use just a really clean Kool-Aid container, some sort of container that has a lip, dump the wine in, pour it back into the bottle, then you can serve it from the bottle, and it kind of...
You can tell we grew up fancy when you're recommending a Kool-Aid container. Any kind of water pitcher is what he's saying. Any kind of water pitcher with a lip.
But it basically forces the decanting in a very short period of time. And sometimes it's easier just to serve out of a bottle than out of a decanter.
Yeah, and the basic principle behind decanting, if you're new to it, is you're just aerating the wine. You're opening it up, and it will soften all of those kind of characteristics in the wine. It's kind of fast aging it to some extent, where it softens up some of those tannins, opens it up, but it also releases a lot of the aromatics, the different gases that come off the wine that are what you smell, what your brain interprets as the different aromas. So when you decant it, it really opens up all those aromas for you to enjoy and get a really nice overall experience with any wine you do. The bigger and heavier the red, the more you should decant it, the more likely and the better it will be for you if you decant it. And there's all kinds of things on the market to try and aerate wines as you're pouring them. Some of them work well, some of them don't. Any kind of pitcher that doesn't leak and you can pour some wine into, that's all you really need to aerate wine and just get some air moving through there. So we hope you enjoyed joining us today. These are some of our favorite wines. We highly recommend them. We've been recommending them for years. And we're going to try and bring you a series here moving forward that brings you at least once a month 4 wines like this that we feel are just great values, under $30, to show you that you can have great wine without spending a lot of money. If you enjoyed this, keep an eye out for other installments of our 4 wines under 30, see what other recommendations we might have for you. And if you have any suggestions on wines you'd like us to review, feel free to drop that in the comments and we'll take a look at them, see if we can review those wines for you as well.